Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining this episode of the Clinic Talk podcast. Today, I have a very exciting guest. She is Sherry McLaughlin. She's a master physical therapist from Troy, Michigan, and she owns and operates Michigan Institute for Human Performance. Sherry, how are you today?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining me here on the podcast. I know you have a long resume, so a lot of cool stuff that we'd love to learn about you. So, just give us a little brief intro of who you are and the Michigan Institute for Human Performance.
Okay, yeah, I grew up quite a little bit of a nerd, and I knew I wanted to be a physical therapist when I was 12. So I went through high school knowing that, and I went through PT school thinking if I could just learn everything they taught me in PT school, then I could help anybody that had pain. So
Yeah.
I could tell you, when I graduated, at the top left-hand corner, page 145 of my ortho book, I could tell you the 5 things it took me to do to treat a meniscal tear of a knee. So when I started treating patients, I would do those 5 things, and sometimes they would get better, and sometimes they wouldn't, and I couldn't tell you on any given day who would and who wouldn't get better necessarily. So the best thing that happened to me was 2 years into my practice, I was asked to teach kinesiology at a local community college for the physical therapy assistant program. I tried to turn that job down 7 times. I ultimately took it. I wanted to turn it down because I thought it was gonna be a boring class to teach, and I wanted to teach something more exciting like orthopedics but they needed a kinesiology instructor, so I took it. And it forced me to blow the dust off my joint structure and function book, and relearn human movement and design from the ground up, now that I had seen a lot of patients, right? When I learned it the first time, I really had not seen any patients. I couldn't really put everything together, but now I had seen people that I couldn't help, and I was on the real search for answers. So teaching that teaching stint, ended up lasting 28 years. So in my 28 years of teaching kinesiology and then ultimately orthopedics, I learned a lot about human body design and how we're connected from head to toe. So ultimately, through that journey, I needed to open my own place. I wasn't born wanting to be a private practice owner. I was perfectly happy being an employee, but the freedom that is allowed you in decision making and kind of crafting how you want the patient visit to happen, is really free. You're free to do that when you own your own practice. And so that's why I opened the Michigan Institute for Human Performance. And that is a big name for not a huge clinic. But I called it that because I wanted it to not just be physical therapy. I wanted to be able to treat patients with this biomechanical approach, but I also wanted to teach people how to prevent those injuries. I saw a lot of people coming in with injuries that
I like that.
this could have been prevented, yeah. So we decided to have, 3 tiers in this business. One was gonna be outpatient orthopedic physical therapy. The other was gonna be a corporate wellness program, which is now called Movewell. And we were just gonna do seminars and screenings and head out into the workplace and, evaluate people and then give them movement-based advice on how to prevent aches or pains based on what we had learned in treating history and in biomechanics. So that became Movewell, and
Is that the shirt that you're wearing? The Mulan.
nope, this is the Movewell Academy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting to it. So Movewell started in probably Movewell a version of Movewell started back in 1998 before I even opened my clinic. It was called something else back then, and then it morphed into Movewell, and it was doing really well until the pandemic, because the Movewell, um, business was going on site, watching how people move, kind of ergonomics, but, ergonomics professionals go in and look at how they can change the equipment to kind of help the person do the
Yeah.
job. Movewell was going on, and we were evaluating patients' movement requirements and then coming up with the solutions for the human side of it. How could we, what limitations in your mobility were causing problems in these jobs? And then we were doing screenings and consultations that way. When the pandemic hit and everybody started working from home, that changed the nature of that business. It is still around. Movewell's still around, but it's now a lot of it has gone online. and Versa. Um, I taught at Macomb for 20 years, and I saw the value in taking what I knew and taking it out to the public sector. And so after that, I decided I wanted to try to gain a wider audience for the things we were learning about human movement. And so in a year and a half ago, I launched the Movewell Academy, which is just online. It's really an online portal. I blog 4 times a week. 5 4 times a week, with the 5th day being a video upload on YouTube, and all I'm doing is every day has a theme, right? Monday is a move you should do Monday, a move you should be able to do, and if you can't do it, I'll give you advice why. Tuesday is Anatomy Tuesday. Sometimes it's muscle, sometimes I break down a joint. Wednesday is Hands-on Wednesday, so a video goes onto our YouTube channel, a simple, less than 2-minute video, how to correct something. And then Thursday is Kinesiology Thursday. I'm currently doing a series on professional athlete injuries. How would you treat these guys that are having these overuse injuries? And then Friday is a personal reflection blog called All About You Friday, and it has nothing to do with physical therapy, and it has everything to do with the other parts of the human condition. So that's the Movewell Academy, and I'm super excited about it. I don't have a million followers, but it is reaching people that are being affected by it, and I'm always surprised by hear from people that are not anywhere near me, and they're following the blog somehow. So that's my latest project.
Very impressive, Sherry. I love it. I love the concept behind Movewell Academy, and to do all of that, and you still have time to run your practice and do the Movewell Academy. And I love the breakdown. I love how every day is something different. So it's never the same, right? So really cool. And I love that you have a separate day for Friday to do something different, right?
Yeah,
Well,
all
I love
a real balanced professional is somebody that's not. I mean, I know I've learned this. I've been in practice for a long time, and in order to sustain it, to sustain the job and do it well and still love what you do, there has to be some sort of balance. And I did want that emulated in the Movewell Academy. I didn't want it all to be, academic.
Yeah, awesome. Well, wow, wow, that's awesome. So cool. Thank you for sharing that. Very cool. I love it. So just gonna ask you a few questions on
Sure.
your journey. And you did mention earlier that you didn't want to be a practice owner, right? And now look at you, right? Now you are a practice owner. So you didn't have so again, growing up, you didn't have any desire or going to school to become a practice owner. This essentially came from a need that you saw there was a void in the at least in your area, where you wanted to fill a gap to do what you're doing now,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Right, right. I was the perfect employee. I had no problem punching in, punching out, and doing things. But what was limiting was when you practice in physical therapy and you try to do the biomechanical approach, sometimes you get some pushback. Like, you shouldn't be evaluating the ankle when it's somebody's shoulder that's hurting. Well, I could prove to you many different ways why you
That
should, but that they're related. But so it was that, right? It was that kind of limitation, the amount of time you could spend with each patient. I do love what I do, but I would hate what I did if I had to do it for the numbers only. You know what I mean?
and that's
If
very well said. I love the fact that you said you were a perfect employee, but you wanted to treat and help people the way you wanted to do it. And it shouldn't be a numbers game, right?
Right.
The numbers game should be how many people you help, right? Not productivity and getting thrown, random things and just to see more patients. So it's very impressive. Love that story. So how did you start that? Like, did you have a mentor? Like when you first, what year, by the way, did you open the Michigan Institute of Human Performance? What year was that?
2002.
2002. So in 2002, and can you talk us through that? Like, did you open up a LLC? Did you have a mentor? Did you do it just kind of a side hustle and then it evolved to full time?
Yeah. Yeah, so what happened was the thing called Movewell, started out as this thing called triplanar technology, and we were going into the corporations. I was working full-time as an outpatient physical therapist at a clinic for somebody else, and then on the side, I actually launched a seminar business first. I thought, "I'm gonna teach other physical therapists what I'm learning," you know? So I would, do maybe a seminar every quarter, and I would book the hotel space myself. It was a lot of work, but I was doing that all on the side. Well, what happened is then the physical therapist that came to the seminar would say, "Oh, love your approach," but because they hadn't had a lot of time in it, they were just sending patients my way to this clinic that was owned by somebody else, right? And, yeah, so eventually, my late husband said to me, he was born an entrepreneur, I was not. He said, "You're just dabbling your toe in the water. You're never gonna get anything done until you jump all in," which I will say, um, baptism by fire, that's being an entrepreneur, right? And when I tossed all the safety out the window and jumped in, I mean, you end up learning a lot of things about yourself, about why you wanna be in business, and then if it's really what you wanna do, if it really has a real why behind it besides money, um, you will figure out a way to make it happen, and you blink, and it's 22 years later. It's really an incredible journey. I have no regrets. I've often said if for God forbid something happened to this practice and I had to give it up, or I would probably not take another job at another PT clinic. I have to go do something else.
Wow,
Um, but the lessons I've
very
learned,
inspiring. No, that's an awesome story, Sherry. Like, yeah. So, and as you said, you blink and 22 years later, right? And I love that you don't have any regret. And just going back to what you said, it's definitely resonates a lot with a lot of entrepreneurs or those that want to be an entrepreneur. Is that you have to go all in, and you're gonna learn so much about yourself, right? Because all those safety nets that you have, a lot of that impacts your true full potential, right? And I know personally a lot of therapists who are great employees, but they're always talking about like, I want to start a business. I want to do this. I want to do things on my own. But they never let go of that safety net of having a job, and they don't jump in. And some of them try something, but because they're limited with their time, and comfort of getting a salary and all of this, their business does not succeed because they don't put all that, because it's really you that's going to make your business happen. Nobody else is going to do it for you. So I really like what you said there, and I think it's very true that you do have to jump all in eventually. It doesn't mean from the beginning, right? Because of some finances, the life, things are different for everybody. So it doesn't mean you jump in right away. But if you love what you do, and if you want to try to start your own business, then it shouldn't be something that you're just doing it as a side forever, because it's never going to bloom to its full capacity. And and I do agree, you're going to learn so much about yourself too, because now you have full control of everything, right? There's no you don't have anyone to ask, or if you need a day off or something like that. If you take a day off and you're the only treating therapist, that's the loss in your revenue, right? So how are you going to make that work? Is it worth doing that? Or do you hire more people and so on? But yeah, that's another topic. But I love that. Thank you, Sherry, for sharing that.
get a mentor along the way. I mean, I was probably a few
It's about that. Tell us
So yeah,
about that.
I was a few months into opening my practice, and I got this call from a Movewell client of ours. He was in the corporate sector, and he said that this doctor wanted to come meet me, and this doctor happened to be from Texas. So I was thinking, why would he want to meet me? He's not going to refer patients to me here in Michigan. Turned out he was acting as a consultant for businesses here in Michigan, and he was here in Michigan 4 days out of the week. He had heard about me through my corporate client. Um,
Cool.
and then he said he wanted to meet me, and he came in and he just walked in my clinic. We were so slow. had no patience in there, and he walked in, and it took me about 2 minutes to give him a tour, and then he just looked at me, and I said, "Would you like to sit down and chat a little more?" And at that time, my clinic, we had a think tank room. It was it was cared we had a room where we could brainstorm.
Wow.
That's really the basis of my business, but, anyways, at that clinic, I had a dedicated room, and we had this was before we had smartboards, so we had gigantic sticky notes on the wall with brainstorms, and we happened to brainstorm Achilles tendonitis and plantar fasciitis, and this guy happened to have that problem, so he sits down and he looks at the walls and I said, "Do you want me to explain that to you?" And he said, "Yes," and all of a sudden I had a lot to say. So I explained it to him, then he stood up, he shook my hand, and he said, "Thank you very much for your time," and he left. And then he emailed me afterwards and said, "I really admire what you're doing. I think your work could help a lot of people, and I would like to help you spread the word in any way that I can." And I said, "Thank you very much, but I'm pretty sure I can't afford you." And he said, "It will cost you nothing." And I said, "Why is that?" And he said, when he was a, physician by profession, when he was coming up through the ranks, he was very much like me, trying to find a different way to do things, a more efficient and effective way to treat patients. He was very passionate about it. And he said coming up through the woodwork, people came out of the woodwork that some he knew and some he didn't know and offered him the same advice. And so that guy has been, his name's Bob. That guy has been my rock, not just professionally, but now, emotionally. I mean, he knows he can only coach you as well as he knows all about you. He lives in Austin, Texas, and Monday through Friday, he's the first person I email every morning, and this has been going on since 2004.
Wow. 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 Sherry. You're in a need, right?
You are so right, and when I tell people about him and the advice he's giving me, and this is how he advises me, which I hope to do one day if I'm not already doing it for others. When I come to him with a problem, I don't know about this, and I don't know if I should hire this person, or what about this, he just calms me down, and then he says, when I was in practice," and he tells me a story. He never says, "You should do this," or "You should do that," or he tells me a story and the outcome of his story, and then he just lets it sit with me, and then I end up all of a sudden knowing what I should do next. It's been the most incredible relationship. I would not be where I am today, without him by my side, and I've seen him, I mean, I saw him, like, a few months ago, but before that, it had been years. So we keep in touch via email. It's the power of a really good mentor, and he's not a physical therapist, you know?
No, that's excellent too. So yeah, just because you're a physical therapist or an occupational or speech therapist does not mean that your mentor cannot be someone from the outside. Because as you said, it's about the relationship and the story, right? So they're not just tell you do this, do that, because there's a ton of mentors out there that will take your money, right?
Right.
They'll take your money and then they follow a cookie cutter plan and tell you the same thing they tell everybody. But it's different when they actually listen to you, listen to your problems, listen to your story, and then make it relatable based on their experience. Because that you can't teach that, right? Because that comes from experience, their own life journey. So I love that, and we do work. We also have mentors we work with, and those are the mentors we want. Those that listen to you and not follow. Like here's a course, purchase it, and I'm gonna call you once a month to see how you're doing, type of thing. You know. So yeah, so definitely very.
The Movewell Aca as a result of my time with Bob, that continues, I launched a mentorship program at the Movewell Aca for the Movewell Academy. Sign
Yeah, it's awesome, Sherry. Well, good. That's great. Thank you for sharing that, and I think that it's gonna hit home for a lot of our listeners and watchers because again, a lot of them want to break out, be an entrepreneur, and a lot of them are entrepreneurs, but they get stuck, they get bottlenecked, right? And they don't know what to do next, and they don't have an immediate family member or money to hire someone. But it really is about the connections you make and about who you meet that can make all the difference in the world for you and your business. So,
Sure.
so that's like,
That's all I need is you have to be open to it for sure. Yeah, I mean, I have like 2 key pieces of advice for anyone that ever asks me, you know, what I've learned best in business, and it's this advice that I keep coming back to over and over again. Number 1 is, you should remember the 2 most important letters of the alphabet. Why? So you keep asking why until you can utter, I think it's the 15th letter of the alphabet. Oh. They don't have to have right? You just go, "Why is that? Why is that? Why is that?" Like, with a real spirit of inquisition, and then until you understand it, and then when you understand it, then you can say, "Oh," then you get it, and now you own it, right? And that goes for clinical problem solving, and it goes for, business problem solving, and along with that, it's my second piece of important advice, you have to go into it with high curiosity and low ego. Yeah, see, if you try to become, I like I said, I have a small clinic with a really big name, and I have a lot of clinics around. I mean, I am surrounded by a huge outfit of clinics that they must own 80 clinics in Metro Detroit. I mean, their business alone could swallow my hump in a second, and yet there's one just across the parking lot, and we're still really busy, right? That tells me there's a lot of people that need help. Number one, and number two, I know who I'm never going to compete with them, right? If I tried to compete with the people who have 7 therapists on staff and are seeing 100 patients a day, will be miserable every day. Well, I right, but I
you're doing.
well, I'm doing it, and it's not who I am, and yet there's room in the market for that kind of business, and there's room in the market for my kind of business, and as long as I know what the why and the core of my business, then I can go with low ego and high curiosity and make it happen, right? I'm not trying to pretend I'm something I'm not. That's when we start to let ego get in the way, when we're trying to pretend like we're something we're not, just to look like
Yep.
we're up there with the big guys, and I'll be the first to tell you, I'm not a big guy, I don't worry about competing with them. We're not even on the same level if you're counting that kind of numbers, right? But I have full level. I have a thing here in my clinic that says, don't be the best at what, don't aim to be the best at what you do. Aim to be the only one that does what you do."
I love that. That's awesome. Cool, Sherry. Thank you for sharing that. So just a few things you mentioned. How many therapists do you have working with you?
So, yeah, right now here in the clinic, we're probably the smallest we've ever been. I have myself and another physical therapist working full time, and then I have one full time PT assistant and one part time PT assistant, and then an office manager. So there's only 5. I have 5 employees.
5 employees. Okay, including the non-clinical one, right?
A non-clinical one, right?
Okay. And as far as your practice goes, do you take insurance or is it a cash based or mixed?
It's a mix.
Mixed.
So we take insurance, but there's so if we don't take your insurance, we have cash pay options. And then we have wellness options as well that are kind of a cash feeder into the business. So if you're not a physical therapy patient, but you just want it, we like to call it personal training with a biomechanical twist.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, cool. And does your office manager do your billing for you, collections and everything, or do you outsource that or have another company?
Billing is outsourced to a woman she's just it's just her business. She's been doing our she's been doing our billing since probably the first year we opened.
Nice. Okay, good. It's important to have relationships and ongoing. So very nice. Cool. And do you do any for your business? I know you have the course where it's online. Do you do any telehealth or everything is in person?
We have done telehealth, but so much of our method requires manual therapy and stuff. So I've had the telehealth. Yeah, the telehealth I weirdest thing I've done has been when someone's read a blog and then they're like, "I think you could help me," and then I put them on Zoom and I have them go through some movement tests and I do my best in giving them advice that way. But yeah, all the bread and butter of our business is face to face and hands on as far as seeing patients and people. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, cool. Well, a few more things that we'd love to know. As far as your business goes, right? Like where you are now. And I know you mentioned you're not the big guys or anything and you're surrounded by them. Do you have a long-term plan for your business? Is it something you want to franchise, open maybe multiple locations, eventually sell? Have you thought about that?
I have thought about it. No, I did at one time have 2 locations, and it was difficult for me personally. I realized that the location I was working in, I could infuse in that staff the spirit of the clinic that I wanted, and it was not so much in the clinic that I wasn't in. And then it became a little too much for me to handle, running back and forth. So, no, the long-term vision for my clinic is I do hope that the mission and the messages of this clinic and all the work we've done over the decades carries forward. I will, in a few years, I'll start to phase myself out, hopefully, and I have my eye on a couple people that I think would be an excellent replacement that I would mentor. So I would hire them, mentor them first, mentor them not just as a physical therapist, but as a private practice owner. And who knows? Maybe when I'm really old and gray, then I'll phase myself out and, you know, sit on a beach. Holy, I
None. You're gonna get bored. We're gonna come back into it and sell me.
so know what I love and that has sat at the heart of my business is teaching. And so I love to teach and I love treating patients. I don't love the paperwork. I think anyone would agree with that. So yeah, if I could stay involved in I mean, I teach now part-time at the local physician assistant program, for their ortho lectures. Yeah, if I can be involved teaching somewhere and even mentoring the version 2.0 of this clinic, I would love to do that. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, cool. And are you you're the sole owner of the practice? So you're not partners. Okay. Awesome.
Non-partners. The clinic is a sub S corp, and then the Movewell Academy falls under an umbrella of an LLC, a single owner LLC called Michigan MIHP Consulting. So, but they're all both single owner entities. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Very good, Sherry. So yeah, just kind of any last minute advice. And I know you gave a lot of advice throughout this whole podcast. So appreciate that. Any last minute thing. So let's say there are practitioners out there, let's say PTs, OTs, speech therapists, or any other ones. And they're kind of like they want to break out and do something themselves. And I know you mentioned a lot of stuff already, but is there something kind of like an elevator pitch you would give to someone to actually go and do private practice, at least to try? Because, to me, if you don't try something, you're going to end up regretting, right? As time goes on, it gets harder and harder. So to me, like if you really are serious about it and passionate about it, try it. The worst thing that could happen is that if it doesn't work out, you still learn. You still learn on that journey. So anything you can kind of let listeners know on what you would recommend they do?
Yeah, I would say, before you do it, be really solid on, most of us wanted to do it or because we wanted to do it differently. And so if you're going to step out and do it, then make sure you do it differently, right? Don't try to replicate what you came from because there was probably something there that you didn't like. And then really exercise the main reason to go into business for yourself is freedom. Freedom to make the decisions. If you I know for me, if I made a mistake or a misstep, it was 2 seconds I could turn and go in the other direction. There was no committees. You didn't have to have meetings. You didn't have to,
Yeah.
so you wanna exercise the best thing about being a business owner is the freedom of your time, freedom of decision making. So, keep remembering that, right? You have freedom to walk away if you wanna walk away.
Yeah.
And then just make sure ego doesn't lead you. That's when you get in trouble. When you think, "I'm gonna open something really big, and it's gonna be amazing, and everyone's gonna run in I made these mistakes. I'm telling you from, experience. Don't let ego lead you. Let your heart, why, and the sole purpose of you helping people lead you. If the sole purpose is helping people, you will be successful. It might not look like the big guys, but you will have a great business, and you will have a great legacy that you leave to somebody else, and I think that's the main reason to go into business for yourself.
Well said, Sherry. Thank you. So yeah, you heard it from Sherry. Sherry's been successful. She has a lot of experience, and yeah, I think that is solid advice. So Sherry, appreciate your time. This was great. I learned a lot about you, so thank you for sharing that, and just a lot of words of wisdom. So appreciate.
You for having me. It's been an honor. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So thank you, and yeah, I hope we'll be in touch soon and see where you are in your journey next time. So again, thank you very much. Appreciate it, and we'll speak to you soon.
All right.
Here.
Take care. Bye bye.